The first book of Samuel. This is session number 16. We finished yesterday with the curse on the Philistines. And this morning with chapter 6 verse 1, the ark is brought back. The ark of Yahuwah was in the country of the Philistines for 7 months. I wonder why 7. 7 is such a significant number. And also, I wonder how on earth did the Philistines bear it out for 7 months? What took them so long? You know, that first curse they got, when Dagon fell on his face and they started getting all these boils and painful sores, and the mice who brought all the diseases overcrowded their ships and all the stock, you know, the ships come in and they're importing nice foods and spices, and the rats and the mice were, how on earth? I would have sent the ark back to God's people right there and then. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, "What shall we do to the ark of Yahuwah? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to its place." All right, very good of the Philistines to make sure. They've learned very hard lessons, that you don't mess with the God of Israel. You don't mess with his ark. You definitely don't treat it with contempt or disrespect it in any way. You don't treat it like a common thing, like you treat any other ark or any other piece of gold or any other box or any other God. And this is what holy means. The Ark of the Covenant was holy. Yahuwah is holy. Holy Kadosh, set apart. You treat this thing in a different way than you treat all the other things. You treat this God, come on, in a different way than all the other gods of this world since the time of Genesis all the way till today. Those gods have never disappeared. They are right here under our noses every single day. They are even in the serpent shot that the world governments have told us we have to take, otherwise we're going to die. Yeah, interesting how the names of these pagan deities are given to certain pharmakia that has been put into the little serpent shotty that you take into your arm. This God of Israel is holy, and his covenant is holy, and well done to you idiot Philistines for realizing that. And now they call their priests and their diviners. So what is a diviner? A diviner is a person that under the influence of demonic spirits can tell you things. They can tell you the past, they can tell you the future, and I don't laugh at them. It's a very serious problem we have, even in our government political system today, where all the big shots all have, they call them advice givers, you know, counselors. But these guys are just diviners. They are so deep in the occult. Anyway, so the diviners and the priests, they know, because it is their job to know how the spiritual world works. So they've probably heard before exactly how the Ark of the Covenant of God must be treated and how it must not be treated. So all the information that has been gathered over the years by the Philistines and other people that would come into their towns and do business with them, and then they talk about, did you hear about the Ark of the Covenant that traveled with Israel out of through the wilderness, and this and this and this thing, and you can't touch it, and all those things. So all this secret information over the years has been gathered by the priests, and they then transfer the knowledge to their disciples, and that's why when the people needed this kind of deep information, you go to your priests, you go to your diviners. Remember when Yeshua was born and the 3 wise men came to King Herod, the false Jew from the synagogue of Satan, then he had to call the Pharisees and the scribes, because they were gathering all the information from the prophecies, and they were able to tell Herod that the king of the Jews would be born in Bethlehem. So I just have a word of concern here I've made a note here in my Bible that says, careful now, you Philistines, you Dagon worshippers, careful now, you enemies of God. You know that you cannot treat Yahuwah or Yahuwah's people or Yahuwah's items in some just any common way. You need to understand the holy, set-apart way of treating this. So careful now. And they said, the priests and the diviners, if you send away the ark of the God of Israel, don't send it empty, but in any wise return it to him with a trespass offering. Then you shall be healed. Wow. The enemy knows better than Israel. The enemy's priests, for heaven's sakes, knows better than Israel. Israel's priests were stealing from God and from the people. Israel's high priest did not bring the people back to the Torah. But these Philistine priests, they know the Torah. They say, we have trespassed against this God. Therefore, we need to bring a trespass offering. Wow, what wisdom under the idiot pagans. Where's the wisdom for idiot God's children? And let's give it to the enemy. The enemy does things better than Israel. They acknowledge their trespass. They're going to bring a sacrifice for that. Of course, it doesn't mean they become part of Israel and now they're going to have a ticket to heaven, but they are fearful and afraid of this God. So they understand the trespass offering. But also remember, in chapter 4, verse 9, they said, the Philistines, when they heard the shout of Israel in their camp, the Philistines said, be strong, quiet yourselves like men, O you Philistines, so that you don't become servants to the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quiet yourselves like men and fight. How many times have Israel not quieted themselves like men of God and fought in the battle? The Bible says, be still and know that I am God. And then I want to add, and then you go into battle, knowing who your God is, knowing how to bring the trespass offering, knowing how to become part of the covenant with this God, know who your God is, know what the sacrifice Yeshua is, and then go out and fight. But here the enemy knows better than we. Then they said, what shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines. For one plague was on you all and on your lords. So there was 5 lords in Philistine. Can you remember how many times did we discuss the 5 lords, the 5 kings? Remember the 5 kings at the time of Abraham. Remember the 5 kings that kept on coming back and biting Israel in the backside all through the books of Joshua and Judges. So here the 5 lords of the Philistines, the previous lords, remember, some of them were killed by Joshua. And I can't remember which session it was, but their big toes and their thumbs were cut off. Do you remember we discussed all this? But just like the spiritual realm has got a hierarchy, a specific way in which their government of authority is put out, so does the enemy, the pagan enemy system. So although the individual men in this office have died over, various battles and many years, the office of the 5 lords of the pagans still remained. And it's probably their sons or somebody that then took over that position of the Lord. So yeah, they're going to make 5 golden emerods. And we looked at emerods, it was like an ulcer. No idea what an ulcer looks like when you make it in gold. But they sent back 5 golden ulcers and 5 golden mice, because these were the plagues with which Yahuwah has cursed them and brought over them. So they confirmed, we understand, we've trespassed by taking your ark and putting it into our temple, and then you cursed the temple and the city. We send it off to Ashdod. You curse that city. We send it off to Gat. You curse that city. We understand all that. So here are the symbols. Here is the symbol of the consequence of our trespass. We received the mice and the altars because we trespassed against you. And now we want to give you the proof of our understanding of our trespass back to you, Yahuwah, the God of Israel, as a trespass offering in gold. Therefore, you shall make images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land. And you shall give glory unto the God of Israel. Hallelujah. Dit gaan my verstand te bowe. It surpasses my understanding how these priests, with this information, with all the ancient history, all the proofs, all the evidence that the God of Israel is the only God, they've heard about it all their lives, and now they physically experienced it. And they confirm, offer sacrifices to this God, try to please this God, give him glory, this God. But yet they don't turn to this God? What on earth? You are witnessing this God from a distance. You are seeing the evidence that he is the Almighty. And yet you turn around and you go and fix your pagan God and put him upright again and worship him again and give glory to him again and bring sacrifices to him again, after you have been brought into the position where you had this experience with the God of Israel. What's wrong with you? So we must give him glory unto this God of Israel. Peradventure, he will maybe lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. So if we give him glory, if we send him this trespass offering, maybe he will have mercy on us and he will lift the curse. Not only on the people and the land, but also the curse on their gods. Again, stupid question. Maybe I'm just ignorant. But if your gods are weaker than the God of Israel, so that the God of Israel can curse your gods, maybe your gods are not so cute and cool and fancy after all. I mean, obviously Yahuwah is the God of gods. But yeah, they're going to do all of this in the hope that Yahuwah will have mercy on them, and then they're going to turn around right back to their own filth. Like the Bible says, a dog returns to its vomit, and a pig returns to the mud. Wherefore, then, do you harden your hearts? The priests are speaking to the Philistines. Wherefore do you harden your hearts, just like the Egyptians did? When Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he had wrought wonderfully among them, did they not eventually have to submit to this God, let the people go, and then the people departed? Isn't this what we are learning from history? And chapter 4 verse 8, remember how the Philistines, they knew the history of Egypt. They said in verse 8 from chapter 4, woe unto us! Who shall deliver us out of the hand of this mighty God? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. They remember this. And now, because they thought they can attack God's people, well, they did attack God's people because God's people wasn't in God's will. But because they thought they can take what's holy of Yahuwah to their God and offer it to their God, they are now seeing a repeat of all the plagues and all the curses and all the challenges and problems and destruction that came over Egypt. And now it's repeating in the land of the Philistines. So the Philistine priests are very wise. Well done, you stupid priests. Very wise. And they say, remember what happened in Egypt when they hardened their hearts. And they thought they don't have to obey the God's instruction, the God of Israel's instruction. Don't be stupid like them. Learn from the past. Because eventually, even after all that time that Pharaoh hardened his heart, and the plagues just kept on coming, And eventually, he had to submit. Do you, O Philistines, want to go through what Pharaoh in Egypt has gone through? No, submit now, before it's too late. Now, therefore, make a new cart, like a wagon, and take 2 milch kine. What is a milch kine? Let's have a look. In the Hebrew, milch, what is this now? Verse 7. In the Hebrew, milch is, it's ul. Ul, it means to suckle, to give milk to your young. So this is probably an animal that is still suckling. And then kyle is feminine, heifer. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. These priests, I think they knew more about the Torah than we realize. For heaven's sakes, let's quickly go into this. I hope you remember we did a really intensive study on the red heifer in the book of Exodus. So you remember the red heifer. It must be a female, it must be a cow, and she must have a totally red skin. And then she must never have been used to work. She mustn't have been used to pull something before. Then the red heifer must be burned on the altar, and the ashes of the red heifer is then used for cleansing. But she must be burned outside the city. And then the ashes will be brought back into the tabernacle for the cleansing of the priests and of people that has touched the dead, so that they can come to the God of Israel to worship, especially during Yom Kippur. So you can't bring sacrifices if you don't have the red heifer, because the red heifer has to cleanse everything. And yes. So also does our brothers in Israel, the brothers from the tribe of Judah know, because for the first time in more than 2,000 years, they finally were able to breed some red heifers. So that, of course, is a signal that they are ready to start the sacrifices as soon as the New World Order gives them the land for the third temple. That will not be on the right place anyway, but blah, blah, blah. But here we see how these priests, they know the red heifer, the female cow, is the only one that can really cleanse. So they have chosen, out of all the animals they could choose, they've chosen the red heifer. Well, it doesn't say red. I'm making assumptions. The fact that it says heifer, the fact that it says female, and she's still young. She hasn't been used to work yet. So for me, I think they used God's Torah instructions to try to get God to allow them to be cleansed of this curse. I think this is beautiful. I'm just going to quickly stop here and make a note at my Bible. 1 Samuel 6, verse 7. The 2 milch kine. I'm going to make a note here to refer back to the red heifer purification rituals. See how interesting it is when you dig a little bit deeper, hey? Verse 8. So they said, make a new cart, a new wagon, and take 2 young heifers, on which there hath come no yoke. I should have read further. This is exactly word for word out of the Torah. Of which there hath come no yoke. They haven't been yoked. They haven't been bound to like a plowshare, so that they can go into the field to do work, to plow the fields. So these priests, they knew the Torah. And then tie the kine to the cart and bring their calves home from them. And take the ark of Yahuwah and lay it up. Then milch kine, if the priests are saying that the two kines must be bound to the cart and bring their calves home from them, then it means they were still having calves that was suckling. They were still breastfeeding their calves. So it wasn't the young calves that were still suckling that was used here. It was the mothers. But it was young mothers. They've never had a yoke on them. They've never worked a day in their life. All right, so take the ark of Yahuwah, lay it upon the cart, put the jewels, the emeralds and the mice, put the jewels of gold, which you returned to him for a trespass offering, in a coffer by the side of it, and send it away, that it may go. And see, If it goes up by the way of his own coast to Beth Shemesh, remember Beth Shemesh, house of the sun, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that it wasn't his hand that smote us. It was just a chance that happened upon us. What are they saying? They are saying, if these two female heifers run straight to Beth Shemesh, and if they don't go anywhere else, because remember, their calves are still suckling. What does that mean? It's like trying to separate a mother from her screaming baby, because the calves are moaning, "Mommy, mommy." So what does a cow do when she hears a calf? Her milk starts leaking out of her breasts, her teats. And she runs to a calf and she wants to give him the milk. But if these two female heifers run straight to Beth Shemesh, then we know this was the God of Israel. But if they don't run to Beth Shemesh, and if they run anywhere else or they run back to their calves, then we know, soos in Afrikaans sê ons, dit was maar net toevallig. It was only by chance. It was a coincidence that this great evil came upon us. Then it wasn't this God whom we fear so much. So everything was a coincidence. Dagon falling, the mice coming, the boils and the swears coming, those things are all coincidence. If the cows does not run straight line, if they don't make a beeline directly for Beth Shemesh. All right, so the men did that, and they took the two milch kine and tied them to the cart and shut up their calves at home. Distinctly, this is told to us so that we can understand the significance of a young female mother, a young heifer mother, leaving her calves, going straight to a place they've never in their whole freaking life been before. The whole country is before them. They can go left, right, they can go up, down, north, east, south, west. Why on earth, of all the places they can choose to run to, with their calves screaming for them, tied up at home, why would they run to the one place that the Philistine says, this will be the sign that it was the God of the Israelites? So they laid the ark of Yahuwah upon the cart and the coffer with the mice of gold and the images of the emeralds, and the kine took the straight way. We are on the straight and narrow path. We are on a straight way. Yeshua is the way. Paul says we are in a cult. We are from the cult called the way. These two female heifers took underline it in your Bible. They took a straight way. They made a beeline to the way of Beth Shemesh. They went along the highway, lowing as they went, lowing, blaring, making cow sounds as they went. They turned not to the left. They turned not to the right. But they went straight for Beth Shemesh. And this reminds us of chapter 5, verse 11. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of Yahuwah. Let it go again to its own place. Back to the place where it belongs. The ark of the covenant of the God of Israel belongs to the covenant people of Israel. Send the ark home. And here, these two cows are running straight for Beth Shemesh. No other place. They don't even turn left or right. They don't even stop to eat a bit of grass on the side. They just run for Beth Shemesh. And they, the people of Beth Shemesh, what were they busy doing? They were busy reaping their wheat harvest. So wheat harvest, when you reap your wheat harvest, this is the season of Pesach. They were busy reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. They lifted up their eyes. They saw the ark and they rejoiced to see it. During the season of Pesach, when we remember how the God of Israel plagued all of Egypt and Pharaoh, and how they brought Israel out of slavery, and how Moses made the ark according to the blueprint God gave him of the ark in heaven, and how God decided to dwell amongst his people on the mercy seat of the ark inside the tabernacle. And they remember this, and they rejoice to get the ark of the covenant back. And the cart came unto the field of Joshua. Why? Out of all the men living in Beth Shemesh, why of all the people busy with the wheat harvest, why of all the sons of the Hebrews who lifted up their eyes and rejoiced, did these 2 female cows decide to come to the field of Joshua? Out of all the towns or cities they could have gone to, they came only to Beth Shemesh. Out of all the men they could have chosen, they went to Joshua. Joshua, of course, now this is not our Joshua from the book of Joshua. This is another Joshua from Beth Shemite. He lives in the area of Beth Shemesh. And then the cows went to the field of Joshua and stood there, where there was a great stone. Do you remember we looked at Ashdod and Gat, and we looked at all the prophetic verses about Yeshua, the great stone. When Israel lost the battle at Ebenezer, the stone of our help. And look at the full circle God allows his people to come to. Because they rejected the Torah. They rejected the cornerstone Yeshua. They lost the battle. But here the ark returns, and it comes back to the stone, where there was a great stone in the field of Joshua at Beth Shemesh. And that's where the cows decided, this is exactly at this spot we are standing right here. We're not going to stand over there or over there. No, at the great stone, here is exactly where they stopped running. Nobody stopped them. They stopped on their own. And the people of Beth Shemesh clave the wood of the cart, and they offered the kine a burnt offering unto Yahuwah. So the wagon was made it was a new wagon. So they chopped it up. They used the wood of the wagon, and then they took these 2 cows who sacrificed themselves by, they could have run away. Cows, run away. You know what's going to happen to you when you stop there by Joshua and they get the Ark of the Covenant back? Those Hebrews are going to kill you. They're going to sacrifice you to their Lord. But these cows left their babies at home. They took the Ark of God back to its own place. Chapter 5, verse 11. Let it go to its own place. And these 2 heifers brought it back to the great stone, where it was easy to just slaughter them and pick them up and put them on the great stone. They didn't even have to go fetch them from over there or over there. They stopped right at the place where it was most convenient for Joshua to put down his sickle because of the harvesting, and maybe even use that very same sickle to slaughter the cows and then to offer them as a burnt offering unto Yahuwah. What an amazing story. This is, for me, again, like every other story we have ever discussed. It is just beautiful. And it also shows there's nothing like coincidence, In Afrikaans, when we say toevallig is Afrikaans for coincidence. And in Afrikaans, it means toe val die lig. Then the light fell. That's what it means in Afrikaans. Then the light fell. There's nothing like coincidence. It's stuff that happens. And when you look back upon all this stuff that coincidentally happened, then you see the light. Then the light falls on you. Toevallig. Then the light falls. And then you understand how God always knows the end from the beginning. How nothing is by coincidence. Everything is by the plan of God. Even the bad things that happen, so that the people of God can learn from those mistakes we made, and even learn from the lessons we get from the enemy. and we can bring it all together like a 1,000-piece puzzle set, and we can build the picture and look upon it and glorify our God, the God of the Israelites.